This is your tech news briefing for Wednesday, April 26th. I'm Zoe Thomas for the Wall Street Journal. Last week, we reported that Lyft plans to lay off possibly more than 1,200 workers after already eliminating 700 roles last year. The company said it would announce more details about the cuts tomorrow. This move comes days after a new CEO officially took over, and as the ride-hailing company struggles to keep up with its rival, Uber. So, what's going on with Lyft? Joining me to talk about this is WSJ ride-hailing reporter Preetika Rana. Preetika, can you start by telling us what do we know about these cuts? Who are they going to affect, and why is the company making them?
So we reported on Friday that the company was planning to make another big round of cuts. Lyft issued a statement in response to our story, acknowledging that something is coming, but that it didn't say what. All that the company told employees was that they could expect to know more on Thursday, meaning tomorrow. Our reporting indicates it's going to be big. 30% or more of staff is what I'm hearing from my sources.
So this comes as Lyft's new CEO is just stepping into the role. Let's talk about this change of leadership. Can you start by telling us, why did Lyft's founders step down?
So the company has really been struggling for the last year. Its stock price is down over 70%. Morale has been hard hit at the company as it's been losing market share to Uber. So employees were saying, look, the co-founders have done a good job of transforming a scrappy startup into a household name, but are they really ready to take this to the next level to lead a large public company? And that led to a lot of dissatisfaction. Employees were asking the co-founders about this at all hands meetings. And a lot of this also got to Lyft's board, and there was increasing concern among investors about the future of the company. So late last month, both the company's co-founders stepped back. They continue to remain on the company's board, but they said maybe it's time for new leadership. And Lyft has a new CEO who officially took over last week.
So tell us a bit about him. Who is he and what's his vision for Lyft?
Yeah, so Lyft's new CEO, David Risher, actually served on the company's board. For the last 20 years, he has actually run his own nonprofit. But before that, he held senior leadership roles at Microsoft and at Amazon. And at Amazon, I'm told that he was very close to Jeff Bezos and that people who did work with him at the time enjoyed working with him. It is an interesting choice, given that he comes from the nonprofit world. I have met him. I have spoken to him since he got the top job, and he wouldn't give us details, but he says that his vision is to really reinvent the way that Lyft treats its riders, the way that Lyft also treats its drivers. So he's going for a complete overhaul. What that involves remains to be seen. But he says he certainly has plans to shake things up.
What's morale at the company like now, given that they've gotten this leadership change, but also that these big cuts are coming?
I think it's really mixed. So on one hand, Lyft has really struggled over the last year. Morale hasn't been good anyway. A lot of senior leaders at Lyft have departed. And now there's added anxiety about whether they would have jobs with these big cuts. But on the other hand, there's also a sense of optimism and excitement among some employees, given the new leadership. Some of them felt frustrated that things were just moving very slowly or barely moving at all under the co-founders. So there's a sense that, okay, here's some fresh blood, and maybe things could take a turn for the better.
What about investors? What are they making of all these changes?
The market has responded positively to the change in leadership. So when the co-founders announced that they were stepping down, the stock actually went up. Similarly, when we broke the story about more cuts coming at Lyft, the stock also jumped.
Preetika, can you explain to us why Lyft is struggling so much to keep up with Uber?
So one of the things was that Lyft decided not to diversify into any other businesses during the pandemic. Uber, of course, had a food delivery business. Now, that wasn't a decision it took during the pandemic, but that decision paid off in a big way. That said, Lyft decided that it didn't want to diversify during the health crisis, so it stuck with its transportation routes. Even then, A lot of people say, well, if they did stick their guns to transportation, they should have owned that space. That didn't happen. And then one of the other things was, and again, this predates to the pandemic, but Uber has a global business. Lyft limited its presence to North America. Uber benefited in a big way having global operations at a time when the US was going through multiple lockdowns. And when the co-founder stepped down, one of the co-founders said to me, I asked him, is there something you regret? And he says, yeah, the decision not to take Lyft global is something I regret.
Preetika, I wonder, as somebody who covers this space, what is it going to mean if Lyft can't keep up with Uber and Uber's growth? What is it going to mean for US consumers and for competition in the ride-hailing space?
Already, as Lyft stock has tanked over 70% over the last year, there's been a lot of speculation. Does someone buy Lyft? Does the company become so irrelevant that you only have one player in the market? And this is something I asked the new CEO as well. Do you plan to sell the company eventually if perhaps things don't work out? And he says for now, he doesn't have any plans to sell the company. His plan is really to get back in the game. He acknowledges that they are a distant number 2 in the market. And he says, the place that I want Lyft to be, for starters, is a strong number 2, because I don't want to have one player. He called it a 500-pound gorilla. That's how he referred to Uber as. He said, I don't think it's good for a 500-pound player to dominate the entire market, because choice is good, competition is good, it helps everybody.
Okay, that's WSJ's Preetika Rana, who covers ride-hailing. Thanks for joining us, Preetika. And that's it for today's Tech News Briefing. For more tech stories, head over to our website, WSJ.com. I'm Zoe Thomas for The Wall Street Journal. Thanks for listening.